Alright, what you're looking at here is my invention for my T56 that I installed in my Fox Mustang that burned up. I bought it from a guy and apparently it was already burned up. Here's the old counter shaft here. And he was running 900 horse and about 700 foot-pounds of torque. And the teeth are all there, but it just chewed the face of them off. That happens when these transmissions get low on fluid. Well, when they're launched hard with a lot of power, all the fluid slushes to the back. And so this cardboard here is just a backsplash here. I have got an external pump put together. I've got a brand new input shaft here. That's the 26 spline Cobra input. And this is a brand new counter. Together these two gears are about $600, and then new bearings on them, of course. All the other gears are good. But what I've done here is I have tapped the case and I've got a fitting going through. I did some really careful welding. And I've got a fitting comes through there, and to strengthen that I'm actually going to put a nut on the back side of that there, and then probably put a tiny little tack weld to make sure it doesn't come off. The case isn't all too thick, so if I just run a nut down there, that'll actually put a little bit more secure, clamp force on this. But this isn't moving anywhere. That's pretty solid. That tube comes, you can see the mesh. This is the cluster, and this is your input shaft. And these gears, all the power from your motor is transmitted from your clutch, from the flywheel to the clutch, to the input shaft, down to here, and into this lower gear. And this lower gear takes all the force in every gear except fourth. In fourth gear, this gear locks straight through the main shaft and out to the drive shaft. But 1, 2, 3, and 5, and 6, this gear, all the power comes from here and then goes down to this gear. And that makes this gear a very busy gear. It needs to stay lubricated. So I have scrapped off of a tow-behind vehicle. This was a transmission fluid pump. It's a 12 volt, not too high amperage, so it's not too much of a draw, but it's a 12 volt pump that came off of a tow-behind in a Ford Escort. And it's designed to pump fluid around while you're towing it so you don't burn the transmission up. Well, that's all was taken out. So I'm going to clean this pump up, mount it on the underbody here. It's about 3 pounds. It's got a filter in line here, but you can see I'm just got everything mocked up here on bucket here, full of some fluid down there. And I'll give you a little tour how this is going to work. This should be, you notice I've got it slightly pointed here. Now this will turn in a clockwise direction always because your engine turns clockwise. So you'll notice the fluid hit about right here, but it just covers everything. And it has quite a delivery rate too. So I'm going to turn this on. Let me make sure my tube is in the fluid down there, my pickup tube. And just so you know, when this is done, instead of this pickup tube here coming out of the bucket, it'll actually come out of the drain plug over here, which is it's actually on the tail case. It's on this case here, but it'll be pumped out of that there, the drain. So the drain in the back will be the supply into the pump, and then it will flow up in there. We're going to turn this on and just give you an idea. I've got plenty of fluid delivery. It primes extremely quick. Alright, here it goes. We'll see. You can see that there. If this were turning, that would just be absolutely... Oh, I'm getting my hose out of the prime. There we go. I've got it back in the fluid. I mean, this thing's pumping over a couple gallons a minute. But you can see as that were just going there, it's going to absolutely just coat those two gears perfectly and never let them get dry under drag race launch, what have you. So that is my pump setup that will go back in the Fox Mustang, the Turbo 347. Anyway, how exciting is that? If you have any questions about this, this is a mod that I've seen a lot of LS1 on the LS1 sites. Guys were burning up these with turbos and things like that. And this was a mod that some of the guys had talked about doing, and someone had done it. So I just took it to the next level and did it. I'm just using a little jump box to power that there. There's a little leak on one of these hoses. It's puddling down there, but as long as this doesn't come apart in here and go into my gears, I'll be good. So I got to make sure that's very secure. I've got it welded. I just used that's a piece of brake line. That's probably 3/8 brake line. And then back in here, I don't know if you can see it, but I just welded the fitting that came with it, gas welded it, oxyacetylene, right onto the actual pipe, and then I flared it so it'll go on this, and then I'll put a hose clamp here. Now this is really important. I'm going to get all nice new lines and new hose clamps, because if this comes undone, I'll pump all my fluid out real fast right onto the road, and then the box is shot anyway. So this has got to be done right. But I'm putting the box back together. I've done all my preload. I've shimmed the counter shaft, and I've shimmed the input shaft and the main shaft. Had to make a tool for that. If anybody's wondering about the shimming procedure, this is a tool I came up with. And what this does, it goes all the way through down this counter shaft into, and you can see that this welded on washer there will stop here on the counter shaft. It won't go through. What that does, it allows me to go through, and this is the secondary counter shaft here. It'll go on a little bit later. Let me turn this upside down. Hold on. Okay. So this would be, if this were the counter shaft, would be going down through. That threads into that. And then you can squeeze them tight together and get the actual end play. But then when you set the counter shaft, the secondary counter shaft free play, you have to have this loose, and then you can tug on this with a dial indicator, which I use. Oh, my dial indicator, I don't know where it is. Actually, it's on a steel bar down there that I vice grip to the cases. But then you can check off of this tip here your secondary main shaft, or yeah, your secondary cluster end play, and then set your shim preload correctly for that. But anyway, hope you've enjoyed that. Any questions, let me know.